What is going on, freedom fighters? Welcome back to another Tyranny Response Tuesday here on Break the Chains Media. Today is Tuesday, January the 6th, 2026, 1/6/26. This is a monumental year, a monumental moment. This is a 5-year anniversary, if you will, of Entrapment Day, of the most treasonous day in history, of the January 6th Fedsurrection, and we're going to go into all of that. I've got some videos, I've got some clips, I've got some stuff we're going to go over because we cannot lose sight of what happened on January 6th, 2020. Was it January 2021? 2021. It's like 5 years, 6 years. I lose track of time. COVID brain still got me all messed up because, you know, the 2020 year, it's all screwed up. Anyways, January 6th, 2021 was the year, was the date, was the moment that there were calculated and targeted precision manipulation of a government operative psyop through whether through the federal Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI, through Nancy Pelosi, through Muriel Bowser, through Christopher Wray. Christopher Wray was the FBI director at the time. They have admitted that there were FBI agents, plainclothes agents, in the crowd that day. Who is Ray Epps, right? The QAnon shaman, innocent man, got caught up in a whole circus of debauchery and bullshittery because he got escorted through the halls of Congress with a police escort. I've got other videos too, but we're going to get into all that. This is the 5-year anniversary of the Fedsurrection. So happy J6, folks. Happy J6. You know, I come to find out if you leave a podium on your doorstep, you get the lectern guy. Lectern guy shows up and he ends up taking it for you. So if you leave a lectern on your doorstep tonight, he will come by and he will actually take that off of your hand. So if you happen to have an extra lectern, that is for the lectern guy. So cheers, shout out to the lectern guy. But yes, we are going to get into all of that. We are also going to talk about Donald Trump and the administration and this freezing of federal funds for childcare and childcare services and various degrees of healthcare services and healthcare plans. So we've got a lot of stuff to get into. Hey, what is going on? Just Mike 75. Thank you for swinging in. Appreciate you hanging out. You get a treasure chest. You are the first one in the chat in the live stream. So thank you and appreciate you being here, folks. If this is the first time joining Break the Chains Media, if this is the first time hanging out, I wanted to let you know. Hold on. Give me just a second. Wait. Give me just a second. Hold on. Sorry. Pause. Yeah. Nope. You're going home now. I'm streaming right now. Get home now. It's dark. Bye. Yep. Get home. All right. We are back at it. The struggles of being a single dad. I got to answer the phone. If my son calls and he's not here, you know, I don't want to ignore that phone call. So he's wanting to stay out later on his bike, and it's dark out, folks. It is dark out. You can't stay out riding your bike late at night. Get your butt home. But yes. Anyways, if this is the first time joining Break the Chains Media, hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up button, because we are here. We are breaking the chains. We are the chain breakers. And that's what we do. We bring truth, we bring light, we bring knowledge, foresight, we bring practical conversations, practical insight to difficult topics. We want to make sure everyone's fully informed and fully aware of the situation at hand and what we're up against. The 2026 legislative session is happening in Colorado in the next week. We've got to be precision. We've got to be calculated. We've got to be razor sharp when it comes to these legislative sessions and these snakes and these communists that pass this progressive policy here in Colorado. And they're going to go hard on it this year. I guarantee you, because this is the last year of Jared Polis's gubernatorial service, if you want to, and I'm using that term loosely, if you want to call it a service, because arguably he has been a horrible governor. He's been arguably a tin pot governor, as it were, because he says one thing and does another. He takes our Tabor money and he strips you away from your hard-earned money for his pet projects and for his own means, and the legislator does the same thing. So we got to keep all eyes on the 2026 Colorado legislative session, and that is what we're going to be doing here on Break the Chains Media. I will do everything I can to be at the Capitol. So make sure you follow the channel, because I've got a lot of things coming your way, coming down the pike. And then we're gonna do a quick blast out. We're gonna do a quick shout out. If you want to hang out, if you want to check it out, breakthechains.media. That is the website. That is the landing page. Go over to the top right corner, hang out, and check out Realm Walker Hot Sauce. Travel the 9 realms of Norse mythology through hot sauce. I've got 4 different flavors ready to go right now. Niflheim, jalapeno, tomatillo, cilantro, lime. Midgard, serrano, tomatillo, lime. That's a nice, mild, medium green hot sauce for all the other the introductory level hot saucers. And then I also have Ragnarok, smoked chocolate super hot peppers, and green chilies, and I also have Muspelheim. So come grab your flavors of Realm Walker Hot Sauce. You can follow Realm Walker Hot Sauce or on Instagram, or you can message Break the Chains Media to get your bottle. And then be sure, you got to rev up them chainsaws, folks. Rev them up, because we're cutting through government bureaucracy, government bloat, government fiscal irresponsibility, the wrong type of spending. We do not want to see a large, heavy-handed bureaucratic government, and the Chainsaw Caucus does exactly that. It's a 527 nationally recognized PAC, and with your donation, and your suggested donation of $10 a month, helps out Chainsaw Caucus, helps out Break the Chains Media, and it is in the description of this video down below. So click on that link in the description below and donate, and for $10 a month, you can help the Chainsaw Caucus. Last but not least, we got a great event coming up, folks. It is this Saturday. So this Saturday, if you are in the area of the Jefferson County, the Denver metro area, I highly recommend you come check out the Golden Summit, because we are building Colorado's conservative future, because we are sick and tired of seeing these weak-willed and old guard rhino Republicans who do nothing, who stand around, who are sore losers every time here in Colorado, and they don't put any effort forward. They're always infighting, they're always picking their own battles, and they're always doing a circular firing squad, and we don't like seeing that. We don't like having that. So the Golden Summit's goal is to find prospective candidates, young, youthful, passionate, powerful people who can be in charge and who can be involved coming into this midterm session of 2026. We got to get some great candidates to run against these progressive cultural Marxists. And if we don't have a good platform of ideas, if we don't have a good standing ground, a nice solid foundation, it's going to be a hard time, folks. So that is what we're doing with the Golden Summit. This Saturday, January 10th, at the club Rolling Hills, we're going to have Jeff Hunt, Nicole Hunt, GOP Minority Leader Jarvis Caldwell, and Heidi Ganahl are all going to be there. And you can pick up your tickets at the link. I'm actually going to post. I got to post the link right now. We're going to do a quick in the message chat. I'm going to post this in the chat, and it's going to be a pinned chat on the top there. So that is the link for the Golden Summit. So I highly encourage you, if you were able to make it, I want to see you there. You can build your own cowboy hats. We're going to have live music from Derek Hall. Walker Road Hat Company is the company. And we're going to have great barbecue. It's going to be a great time. So I highly recommend everyone coming to check it out, folks. But without further ado, we are jumping right into it, right into the news, right into the media. We're having a great time here on Break the Chains Media Tyranny Response Tuesday. Let's go. What do we got? Just Mike. We already lost our Tabor refunds. Well, yes, we have lost our... I think the last time we got a Tabor refund, it was in 2022. But... and now I wanted to touch on Proposition LL and MM, because LL and MM are actually going to be siphoning any and all remaining funds from the Tabor Fund. And that's how they do it, folks. They do a workaround here in Colorado, and they manipulate what it means to use our money without raising taxes. They always say without raising taxes, folks. Well, that's what they do. They do a workaround legislatively to find ways to take our money, whether it's fees or fines or added, whatever you want to call it. However they want to take their money, they're going to find any way to get their hands in your pockets, and I'm sick and tired of it. Seth Sparky, you're going to be there. Excellent, dude. Cheers to that. You get that treasure chest, too. Thank you. I'm going to be there, too, so we're going to have a great time. We're going to have an awesome time, and it's going to be fun because that's what we need to do. We have to make it fun again to be a part of local politics, so I hope to see everyone there at the Golden Summit. So, Mike, homegrown tomatillos, bro. Let's go. I use tomatillos for my hot sauces, right? So let's make that happen. We got to make that happen. It's gonna be sick. I love, and I also use tomatillos to make my green chili too. So tomatillos are like, it's like a mix between a tomato and a pepper without really being spicy, but it's delicious. You know, it's fucking awesome. Gotta have some of my cold brew coffee. Cold brew coffee. All right, folks. So we're getting into it. We are jumping right into it. Today is the 5-year delta from the January 6th insurrection, the darkest day in history, the terrorist plot to take over, the staged coup attempt, right? The hot pile of trash. Nancy Pelosi, Muriel Bowser, Mike Pence, Christopher Wray, you name it. There were so many hands in that operation that day, right? Technically a gooseberry. Yeah. So I wanted to show you this because this was the video I posted, and I actually stand corrected because I thought that today was the statute of limitations expired, but I was since corrected from Harmy Dillon actually. Well, Anna, thank you, Anna, if you're out there. Appreciate you dropping this in the comments. But Harmy Dillon actually
obviously
said,
we share.
Oh, hold on, that's too loud. Harmy Dillon said that the statute of limitations does not expire. But let's watch this video really quick. It's a 2-minute long video, but let's watch it really quick. I did post it. 5 years it's been since the January 6th Fedsurrection. Do you guys remember that? You guys remember that day, the most treasonous day in American history, as some people claim? Not me. We have just days until the statute of limitations expires on those responsible for the January 6th Fedsurrection. Arguably one of the most treasonous days in American history. And I'm going to say the same stuff I already said, but this is the video. You can go. It's a 2-minute video. You can go check it out. But I 100% agree. It was an election coup, and it was brought on by the globalists against Trump. It was not an incitement. It was not an insurrection to violence, as the media proclaims. We can talk back and forth about that for all it's worth. But on a lighter note, it is good to find out that through Harmeet Dillon on the Charlie Kirk Show,
just observed some of the questions that were circulating about this post-January 6th prosecution.
So, yes, initially I thought that the statute of limitations for everyone involved with January 6th, whether it be Muriel Bowser denying the National Guard, Muriel Bowser denied additional Capitol Police on the day of the votes, the certification of the vote, and Nancy Pelosi, weeks prior, Trump actually submitted a request for additional National Guards troops, and Nancy Pelosi at the time was the Speaker of the House, and she has the rule when it comes to that. So, anyways, all of them denied additional security, additional guardsmen there. So, and then Christopher Wray, who's in charge of the FBI, that's a whole nother can of worms because there were apparently plainclothes FBI officers within the crowd that day. And we're going to watch a couple of those videos, but I wanted to hear a response from Harmeet Dillon talking about the statute of limitations not being expired. And that doesn't mean that we shouldn't be proactive in prosecuting anyone and everyone involved in this staged coup attempt. So let's take a listen to this video real quick.
People want accountability for some of the stuff that happened. Obviously, we share those desires. And you just basically said, am I going to have to put down my knitting and explain the statute of limitations to you people? So the floor is yours. What sparked this, and what do you want the country, the conservative movement to know?
Well, thank you for having me, and thank you for asking. It is certainly very frustrating to those of us at the Department of Justice, where we are doing so much. We are winning so many cases, including at the Supreme Court. We are putting wins on the board, And Attorney General Pam Bondi and the rest of us keep getting criticized for not having arrests, like arrests are entertainment or bread and circuses. When in fact, there are arrests and there is a very lively activity from a very committed and I think the most conservative Department of Justice that we've ever had. So, and I don't think it's just people asking questions. What I was responding to was what looked to me like an organized campaign of stupid commentary that falsely claimed that because January 6th is coming up, there's a 5-year statute of limitations that expires on January 6, 2025. And if the Attorney General and the DOJ hasn't indicted people by that time, then that statute of limitations has run. And I think it is paid. I think I see certainly those types of influencers on X who are monetized repeating this propaganda almost word for word. And I was frustrated by it. I saw some pushback. It wasn't enough pushback. And so I decided to get out there and, spew some facts. Namely, there is no statute of limitations that runs on that day. There are various statutes that are going to run on a rolling basis, and some haven't even expired because there's a continuing conspiracy, which I think you could make the case for in some circumstances. The statute of limitations doesn't begin to run, i.e. start, until that conspiracy and those overt acts and furtherance of the conspiracy end. And so I put some facts out there. And I also expressed my frustration that so-called conservative influencers are clearly getting paid to spread clickbait disinformation. And it's really annoying to me. And I wish people would get a life or at least inform themselves and try to be honest instead of just trying to make money off of the desperation of a less informed populace.
Well, with that being said, Harmeet Dillon, I am not getting paid for saying that the statute of limitations was expiring. I was under the impression, and I heard through various other sources, that there was a 5-year statute of limitation on the January 6th date. So, with that being said, I apologize for what it's worth. If you want to think that I'm making money on this, folks, I do not make a dime doing this. If anything, I lose money doing this with all of the technology that I have, with all the programs I use, with everything I do here. I do not make a dime doing this. I do this because I want to make sure the truth gets out to the public, and I want to make sure that we are informed as a populace, and we want to make good decisions moving forward. So with that being said, I stand corrected that there is no statute of limitations. Thank you for correcting me, Harmeet Dillon, but you don't got to be so rude about it, okay? You don't got to call me like a paid psyop shill, a stupid idiot who doesn't know anything. That's not what I was intending. I was only merely addressing the fact that time is running out. And if you want to look at the larger picture, I would say we have 1 year. We have until midterms. We've got less than a year, actually. We have less than a year to actually get shit done. Because if we lose the midterms, Trump's going to get impeached. We're going to get a complete stonewalling in Congress. Nothing's going to get passed. Nothing's going to get accomplished. And we're going to be in a worse position than we're already in. So I think that in my honest efforts, I want to see as much action as we can get done. And Harmeet Dillon and Pam Bondi particularly, is not doing the best of jobs. She's spending more time on Fox News doing interviews, and we're not seeing these large-named persons of interest get the rightful justice that is due to them. We're talking James Comey. We're talking Letitia James. Those two in particular got cases put on them, and then not even a week or two later, they got thrown out because of procedural bullshit. Like, if we're gonna get shit done, we've got to get shit done the right way, folks. And I am like passionate, and I know everyone else out there is passionate. We want to see justice. What about Russiagate? What about the prolonged campaign from Obama and Mayorkas and these other individuals? Not just Mayorkas, but what's the other guy's name? My God, I'm drawing a blank right now. Not Blinken, but you got James Clapper, you got John Brennan. Those people involved during the whole Russiagate scandal and speaking to China and saying that don't worry about it, no big deal, like to Chinese officials. And then why am I drawing a blank on the other guy's name? He looks like the attorney general. Hold on, let me look it up because it's gonna bother me. What was his name? Merrick Garland. There's that little shit fuck. Merrick Garland. Yeah, Merrick Garland. Drawing a blank on his name, but yes, Merrick Garland, James Comey, Mayorkas, Christopher Wray, all these people, okay? There was a calculated globalist effort, especially during the Biden administration. And this is what's January 6th. They claim and this is what the Democrats do. They project, right? They project everything that they themselves are guilty of. They project onto Trump. So on January 6th, they were stating that there was an insurrection and Donald Trump was inciting violence and a coup against a duly elected president. Folks, 81 million votes for a walking meat bag who could barely stand up on his own. The oldest president in recorded history. Folks, I don't want to fall down a whole rabbit hole, but you know what I feel about the 2020 election. You know where I stand with the Biden administration. You know, and I'm sure there's other ones in the chat who agree with me that the entire 2020 to 2024, the Biden administration was a sham presidency, was a phony presidency to stop Trump and his agenda. Then you got the whole conversation about the auto pen and Biden's cognitive skills and who was really running the administration during those 4 years. That's a whole nother conversation. But the fact that these Democrats projected themselves into that position starting on January 6, 2021, saying that there was an insurrection and Trump was the one starting it, they were projecting all of that. And everything that was happening was an insurrection against the rightful president of the time, which was Donald Trump. Donald Trump won the 2020 election, and there was massive fraud nationwide. And now we're actually starting to see all that come out, right? Whether it's Georgia with the 300,000 votes, whether it's Maricopa County in Arizona, whether it's Michigan or Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, all these strange circumstances with mail-in ballots and late ballots, and then Colorado. I mean, folks, you know where I'm going with this, but this is exactly what they were doing. They projected the entire time that the January 6th was an insurrection by Trump. Full-facted lie. Like full-faced, full on its face lie. And we got a couple other videos here. This is another video I wanted to show you from January 6th. This is from, I believe, well, News to Share is Ford Fisher. Good guy. I know him. I've actually... he's been out here a few different times. We've actually made videos. He's recorded me a couple different times. But News to Share, I think Ford Fisher was there that day, and I believe this was footage from Ford Fisher. But let's take a look at this individual, this maskless individual, right? The J6 Fedsurrection. Excuse me. Every time. The J6 Fedsurrection was orchestrated by Christopher Wray and others to stage a coup attempt by Trump and his supporters. Remember this guy? A total Fed plant trying to entice J6 protesters to commit crimes. He has never been held accountable and now probably never will. Let's take a look. Do not go in there. Watch this. Look at this. What kind of behavior?
A radio journalist from Michigan was shooting video that day at the Capitol. What he captured were two most charitably called suspicious actors, but they are dressed in such a way that led him to believe that they were government agents. And one of them, after the windows had been broken by a protester, it was encouraging people to pull the rest of the glass out and go inside. Bobby Powell, who was the journalist that had shot it, and he has his camera rolling, he told him that would be illegal. And that wouldn't be a good idea. He warned people off not to go into that window. And then he turned his camera around and he caught this agent or suspicious actor pulling a large pane of glass out, this tempered glass. It kind of folds into itself, crunch onto the ground. When he realized he was being filmed, he quickly dropped it. It seems apparent on the video that he did not want to be seen doing what he just did. So he pulled in a protester and started blaming him. He said, "What are you doing breaking that window?" The poor fellow that was being accused didn't know what was going on. And then he gave him a couple of really good shoves and cocked his arm like he was going to punch him. We don't know. His facial image is not on any of the Sedition Hunters sites or the FBI's most wanted site, but he clearly was committing criminal damage to property, and he has not been charged. So it, again, it raises a question of why.
Also, the individual trying to, again, opening the window up is even encouraging people to enter, I believe, as well?
Yes.
Yep.
What's he saying?
Well, he said, "Why don't y'all open the rest of it up?"
Why don't you guys open up the rest of it? Because I think that'd probably be illegal. Oh, I know my glasses.
Yeah, so there were many instances of this, many instances like this on January 6th. And the other video I had was the guy being, he was arrested and then he was unhandcuffed. They removed his cuffs, and then he gave him a fist bump from that other short video that I posted earlier today. But let's watch this. This is actually Capitol Police responding to the situation at hand that was happening.
They set us the fuck up. That's what they did. They set up 64. Oh, absolutely. And then they asked y'all to come 2 hours later. They set us up. They needed everybody right away. Nah, right away. They set us the fuck up. So nah, we ain't got shit. We ain't got no motherfucking shit. They set us the fuck up.
That's Metro Police.
Shit.
And I think what he's mentioning, what he's saying right there is that there was not nearly enough police or nearly enough National Guard, nearly enough security presence there against the large protesting crowd that was there peacefully. Initially, they were all there peacefully to contest the certification of the vote. That's why they were there. And if y'all remember, Trump himself said, "We'll march peacefully down to the Capitol and cheer on our electors, cheer on our senators, and make sure that they do the right thing, make sure they count the votes right, make sure they certify the votes the proper way." And that's what the plan was until suddenly, somewhere, somehow, everything stopped and everything went all sideways. With AOC talking earlier, and she was in another part of the Capitol, this whole bullshit. So point being is that January 6th was a federal insurrection, a federal psyop against the people, against the public, to frame in a negative light Donald Trump and his protesters against an unelected and unofficial and arguably, in my opinion, a false, phony presidency of Joe Biden. He was the unelected president with 81 million votes during COVID, and everything that tied in with it, all the whole lead up to the election, universal mail-in ballots, everything lines up to a corrupt coup overtake using our election system, weaponizing our election process against Donald Trump to install the puppet regime presidency of Joseph R. Biden. That is what I believe. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are in the chat, because I think y'all agree with me. I think we're all on the same page when it comes to that. But yeah, January 6th was a very difficult and interesting day, to say the least. But with that being said, we are shifting gears. We're moving into the second part of this live stream, because I'm trying to keep it a little bit closer, a little bit quicker. Not trying to lollygag too much, but I did want to bring up this article here. So, the Trump admin. Let's see here. Let's get it going. Let's get it going, because this is going to be a good one. This is going to be a good one, folks. Smash that like button. Share this with your friends and family. Be a part of the chain breakers here on Break the Chains Media, and I appreciate everyone who does so. Trump administration to halt more than $10 billion in funding to California, Colorado, Illinois, Minnesota, and New York over non-citizen benefit concerns. And I know here in Colorado, state funding has been getting doled out to as many illegals as possible, you know, being a sanctuary state and all. That's kind of how they do it here. And they've been doing it like this for a long, long time. And it's not in the sense that you just hand over federal money blatantly and illegally, because they've done such a good job hiding this. They've done such a good job laundering and washing this federal money, laundering taxpayer money into NGOs, into private institutions, into third parties, into workaround systems that no longer makes it a direct one-to-one transaction of federal government money to an illegal immigrant who doesn't deserve the money, or doesn't qualify for the money, right? It's not a one-to-one relationship. They do a large workaround. They walk that money around many different ways. So we're going to jump into this article here, and we're going to check it all out. Good old Timmy Walls, right? Good old Timmy Walls. Yeah. And then I believe, let's actually look it up really quick. We're gonna shift gears really quick. Not really shift gears, but it's a tangent. It's all tied together. I believe he testified today. No? Or maybe he testifies tomorrow. No. Let's check it out here. I see the June 12th, June 13th. He won't seek re-election, but I thought he was supposed to testify today. Let's check it out from CNN here. Let's check this out. All ties together. It all ties together, right? Minnesota Governor Tim Walz won't seek a third term as fraud scandal churns. Yeah. Rumor has it that a lot of those Act Blue donations were made by those daycares. I mean, that sounds par for the course. That sounds like exactly what they would be doing, right? They would use these shell companies, these shell daycares, or shell healthcare companies, or shell nonprofits. And I think what happens in Colorado, we got a lot of nonprofits. Colorado was set up a long time ago with an extensive network of nonprofits, and that's how they work their money around it into the system and hand it to people who are not eligible to receive that money. And that's how they do it here in Colorado. But we're going to get into that here in just a second. But Minnesota Governor Tim Walz won't seek a third term as fraud scandal churns. The former Democrat nominee for vice president is awash in fallout from the recent viral video that prepares years-long fraud allegations in the forefront of national conversation. Yeah. Federal agents crack down in Minnesota for immigration as governor drops re-election bid amid fraud scandal. So I could have sworn he was supposed to testify. I thought he was supposed to testify. Let's see. No. Waltz took no question on Monday. Tomorrow I'll be back with you. No. So maybe I was wrong. Maybe I'm just mixing it up. But so this whole Somali-run daycare narrative, it happens in many different ways in many different places across the country. But let's actually check out this article that I was actually going to start with. Federal officials to halt more than $10 billion in funding to 5 states over non-citizen benefit concerns. Let's take a listen here.
I came to the conclusion that I can't give a political campaign my all. Every minute that I spend defending my own political interest would be a minute I can't spend defending the people of Minnesota against the criminals who prey on our generosity
Bullshit.
And the cynics who want to prey on our differences. So I've decided to step out of this race, and I'll let others worry about the election.
Minnesota Governor Tim Walz today ending his run for a third term as governor. The former Democrat.
Oh, yeah? Just like that? Okay.
Democratic vice presidential nominee has come under a hail of pressure over what the feds call staggering fraud in his home state that could total $9 billion in fraudulent expenditures of U.S. taxpayer money. House Oversight Committee Chair Jim Comey.
Awesome. Why are you doing this? Is there a reason? Hold, please.
And quote, though Tim Walz is not running for governor again, he cannot run from accountability. The House Oversight Committee demands that he appear for a public hearing on February 10th to.
Well, I'm trying to make it run for you, but I don't know why it's having such a hard time. Okay. Cool.
Fraud and begin the process of accountability. With that, we bring in Minnesota House Fraud Committee Chair, Republican Kristen Robbins, who's set to testify on Capitol Hill on Wednesday. She is also running for governor. Kristen, welcome. Good to have you here. Were you surprised by Tim Walz's decision, and what does it do?
Sweet. Don't know why this decides to just do it like this. Like, played fine before, so I mean, like, it is what it is. But you know, we're just gonna just keep chugging along, I guess. I'm not really worried.
To the race for governor of Minnesota.
We were not surprised. It has become increasingly clear that Tim Walz is going to run from the accountability that he deserves for allowing this massive scale of fraud in our state. And so we'd heard rumors of this for quite a while. And I'm not surprised. The more we look into it, the increasing number of programs of fraud, the scale of it is staggering, and he just cannot defend his record. And neither will any of his handpicked successors.
Yeah, let's put some of these numbers up in terms of the $9 billion of alleged fraudulent schemes, what the funds were supposed to be for on the left-hand side, feeding children, helping recovering addicts, helping disabled adults. But that money, it appears, went to wire transfers to China and East Africa, luxury real estate, luxury vacations. Do you think that you will see...
When they say East Africa, they mean Somalia. They refuse to say the name Somalia, but it is Somalia. Somalia is on the east coast of Africa.
Governor Walz held accountable for his governorship in terms of how he was overseeing where this money was going in the state that he was running?
I expect so. Our committee is going to have continued oversight hearings. The federal government is holding oversight hearings. I know the federal partners at DOJ are doing additional investigative work. So we will not leave any stone unturned to try to get Minnesotans' money back and to hold everyone responsible for this fraud who has to be held accountable.
Well, it's really a lesson.
Absolutely. That is what I'd like to hear. That is what I'd like to see. But this spans multiple different states, and this is actually going out of let's take a read here. Officials reportedly told the New York Post that the Department of Health and Human Services will freeze funding for the Child Care Development Fund, the CCDF, the Temporary Assistance for Needy Families, TANF, and the Social Services Block Grant affecting California, Colorado, Illinois, Minnesota, and New York over concerns of the benefits were fraudulently funneled to non-citizens. More than $7.3 billion in TANF funding would be withheld from 5 states, along with $2.4 billion from the CCDF and another $869 million from the Social Services Block Grant. The funding pauses were expected to be announced in letters sent to the state officials Monday, citing concerns that benefits were improperly directed to U.S. non-citizens. So, with that being said, folks, I'm going to show you some receipts or some, I don't want to say they're specifically receipts, but I do want to address and I do want to bring up from Colorado specifically, how Colorado operates with not only NGOs, non-governmental organizations, but state representatives and state officials operating within said NGOs. So, with that being said, we're going to take a little dive, a little slice of the old Mile High City here, the old Centennial State. We're going to see how the Centennial State corruption ring operates. Tax dollars flow to nonprofit run by Colorado State Legislature. Democrat State Representative Lorena Garcia was appointed by a vacancy committee to her seat in the Colorado Legislature after her predecessor resigned in 2023. She successfully passed a re-election bid in 2024 and is now serving a full term in the state house. Prior to that, Garcia worked for a number of nonprofits, landing in 2018 as the executive director of Colorado Statewide Parent Coalition, the CSPC, a job she presently still holds. Mirroring Garcia's political rise among majority Democrats at the Capitol, CSPC's fortunes have also greatly improved. According to the nonprofit's tax form 990, the CSPC's revenues when Garcia took the helm were about $517,000, growing by about 5 times to $2.7 million in 2023. That is the last filing year available. This article was written this past July in 2025. Clearly, this CSPC was pleased with Garcia's leadership since her salary went from $57,000 to $133,000 in the same time period. This in of itself isn't remarkable. It makes sense that those in the helm of nonprofits to be compensated when the organization does better. It would at least be smart to align things that way. There is a plot twist here, however. The CSPC's revenue has ballooned in large in part because of lots of state tax dollars flowing in. Colorado runs a website called the Transparency Online Project, the TOPS, a statewide database where, among other things, you can search to see who other states is paying, from what the department, for what, etc. Think of it as an online register for Colorado's checkbook. I ran a report on the TOPS website to see what kind of state money goes into CSPC and then downloaded it as a spreadsheet. When you look at the numbers, it's no wonder the CSPC is doing a land office business. Since 2018, the nonprofit has taken in $1.8 million in grants and other payouts from the state. There's more. If you zoom in on the numbers, you'll see that the amount really shoots up starting in January 2023, with a goodly number of grants after that date easily being tripled and the biggest payment for services rendered prior to 2023. If you run totals, you'll find that 99.3% of the total money CSPC got from the state came after Garcia's appointment as state representative. How interesting. You don't say. You don't say. So this here is Lorena Garcia. She is running in the 35th House District in Adams Jefferson County, and she is a progressive communist scumbag. She is a member of the Democrat Socialists of America. She operates this nonprofit called Colorado Parent Coalition. Okay? And their policies, driving change through policy advocacy. Since established in our policy department in 2019, been dedicated to creating meaningful change for families such as education, child care, health care, equity, and more. You don't say. You don't say. Education, child care, health care, equity, and more. We concentrate in advocacy efforts in the key areas that significantly impact families, like championing equitable access to quality education for all children, advocating for affordable and accessible child care. Oh, it's through child care again. How interesting. It's almost like the same stories being written, just in, maybe this one's in Spanish, right? Rather than Somalian, this one's written in Spanish. You see what I'm going with this? Okay? Solutions, and also promoting policies that foster inclusivity and justice in our communities. And these are the policies that they support. All these different policies that I'm sure Lorena Garcia was a co-sponsor of. Okay? So these people are bold enough to have. It's not just Somali immigrants who are getting these businesses established. It's state representatives that are working these NGOs, that are moving money around, that are passing certain legislation that benefits the NGO, that benefits these people that are receiving the money. And you get the state legislator running on these things. Okay? They give out grants. At CSPC, we are committed to supporting families, caregivers, and community organizations through targeted grant programs. Our grants aim to enhance early childhood education, provide financial relief to care workers, and strengthen support systems that families rely on. Look at that, folks. What are we finding here? We're finding the same, similar thing. It definitely rhymes. Okay? And I want to be clear, and I want to pull this up because I want to make sure y'all understand that when I was talking about the one-to-one where it's federal funding, it's not direct federal funding going directly to an illegal immigrant. It's not how that works. They're doing a big wash around, a big laundering scheme. So I did pull up some questions here specific to Colorado on what types of financial assistance programs are available for undocumented individuals in Colorado. And we're not going to read all this because it's pretty extensive, but in summary, there are many different ways, and they definitely lay it out that you're not allowed to get state fund, you're not allowed to get federal funds, you're not allowed to get taxpayer money. But let's take a listen to the language, folks. Listen to the language. Undocumented individuals in Colorado have limited access to traditional forms of financial assistance due to their immigration status. However, there are some resources available to help support this population. Private scholarships, nonprofit organizations, community programs. Okay, so let's read the nonprofit organization part. Several nonprofit organizations in Colorado provide financial assistance and support services to undocumented individuals and families. These organizations may offer assistance with rent, utilities, food, and other basic needs. Are there any other state-funded financial assistance programs specifically for undocumented immigrants in Colorado? As of my latest update, there are no specific state-funded financial assistance programs in Colorado that are exclusively designed to undocumented immigrants. However, undocumented individuals may still be eligible for certain forms of services that are not contingent on citizenship or immigration status. These include emergency assistance programs organized by nonprofit organizations or local community centers, scholarships and education grants, which right here on the nonprofits, you get grants. Would you look at that? Would you look at that? Healthcare assistance. In some cases, undocumented immigrants may qualify for specific healthcare programs such as emergency Medicaid for pregnancy-related services, legal aid, and all this other stuff. So, folks, this is a long, extensive list, but it's basically saying that there's not direct ways to get to get state-run assistance, but there's workarounds. And the workarounds include tax dollars flowing to nonprofits ran through by Lorena Garcia and other state representatives that run the nonprofits. They get the tax dollars funneled through the nonprofits. The state representative runs on certain policies and programs, right? All the different bills that she supports through the legislation that works with her nonprofit to then funnel and bolster and fund illegal immigrant programs, and that money goes directly to her equitable charities and equitable grants that this nonprofit offers. So that is how in Colorado you get corruption at the state level, at the elected official state level, running nonprofits, taking your tax dollars, funneling it, redistributing it, and passing it off to illegal immigrants as grants and through nonprofit organizations. That's how they do it here in Colorado. It's not like Somali-ran daycares in Minnesota. It's Hispanic and Latina communities looking for a handout and a help out from nonprofit organizations. Thank you very much. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Right? Almost every buzzword progressives say literally means the opposite of how it sounds. Absolutely, Seth. Absolutely. So this is something that I'm actually planning on diving in deeper with. This is just a little snippet, a little taste, a little sample of what's coming this year on Break the Chains Media. And I will be announcing another channel coming up soon, and we'll talk about that when that time comes. When that hammer drops, we will be announcing a new channel with Break the Chains Media. But yes, there is a lot of nonprofit organization corruption going on here in Colorado. It is rampant. It is rife. It's been happening since the mid-2000s, at least. Since the blueprint, since the Gang of Four came over here in Colorado, since Governor Polis took his reins as governor, since all of these unelected and vacancy-appointed legislatures took their reins in Colorado. That is how it happens here in Colorado. it's not as bold and in your face as Minnesota and Tim Walz. They're a little bit more mafioso out here. They're a little bit more gangster-esque. They like to wash their money and keep it clean. So it's harder to trace. But we will get to the bottom of this. I promise you that. And as Break the Chains Media stands on its name, stand on its principles, we are going to be the chain breakers when it comes to these non-government organizations and this non-government organization corruption that is happening through our state legislatures and through our entire state apparatus. You can bet your bottom dollar on that. Full send. Let's fucking go, right? Folks, I appreciate y'all hanging out with me on this live stream. We are wrapping it up here. We are landing the plane. But I see Just Mike in the chat. I see Melindy in the chat. Seth Sparky, thank you for being here. Appreciate you guys all having a good time, having a great conversation. But with that being said, folks, this is going to be wrapping up Tyranny Response Tuesday. Let's see if there's anyone outside of the obvious who I could raid right now on Rumble. Actually, I wanted to see. Let me see if I can actually do something, because I did want to see. I don't know if anyone is a premium Rumble subscriber. However, I am officially a premium creator here on Rumble, and I do want to see if I can actually run a Rumble exclusive. And if you're on YouTube, it's going to be kicking you off, so I'm going to be wrapping up here on YouTube. But I wanted to just kind of do a test and check this button out that I see. It's a new button on my Rumble Studio panel, so I wanted to see if it'll actually kick me to a Rumble exclusive. So we're actually going to do that instead of a raid, see if it works out, and then we'll just run a little test. But folks, I appreciate everyone on YouTube. I appreciate everyone that's watching me on X. I appreciate everyone on Rumble. And if you are a Rumble Premium subscriber, you will be seeing the other side of this, hopefully, if it all works out. So we will... Jason Burmis is on, quite frankly. Yeah. Is that... But is that on... I can't raid anything on YouTube, though. It's only on Rumble. But I do like Jason Burmis. I do appreciate that, Seth. But I am gonna be doing the Rumble Premium. So I'm gonna bounce over to Rumble Premium, and I will see you tomorrow on We Are Change Wednesday. And don't forget, folks, last but not least, I want to shout out, lastly, the Golden Summit this Saturday. You got to go check it out. The Golden Summit this Saturday. I know Seth's going to be there, but maybe we can see a couple more people picking that up in the chat. The link is in the pinned description. I'm sorry, the pinned on the comments on the live feed. There is the link to the Golden Summit. We're going to have barbecue. We're going to have great speakers. We're going to have live music from Derek Hall. We're going to be able to build your own cowboy hat. We are building a Colorado coalition of conservatives for this upcoming midterm cycle. So with that being said, folks, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate all of you freedom fighters, all of you chain breakers. Give yourselves a round of applause, folks. Give yourself a round of applause. Thank you all for being here. And if you are a Rumble Premium subscriber, let's see if Rumble Premium will actually work. So without further ado, thank you, and we'll see you soon. Appreciate you. I love you. I appreciate you. And as always, fight for freedom and never give up.